fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo. And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you. So glad you can be with us. Whether you're joining us at www.behindenemylinesradio.us, or if you're checking us out on AM radio, FM radio, the internet radio, we're glad that you're tuned in with us. Or if we're traveling along with you as a podcast, we are certainly glad to be along for the ride. This is the greatest show we do every year. It is definitely my favorite show of the year. And no, it's not because Russ Gallo isn't here. It's because we are doing the official selection show for Buffoon of the Year. And with every Buffoon of the Year show, we always bring back our resident expert in buffoonology. He is our Reverend Al Sharpton Fellow of Buffoonology here at Behind Enemy Lines. I'm talking about the one and only Matt Fairley. Matt, how you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing very good. Hello, everyone out there. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Festive Kwanzaa. I hope you're enjoying this holiday season and, most importantly, this buffoonery season.
Oh my goodness, this season, Matt, probably the most competitive buffoonery season in recorded memory for us anyway here on the show.
There's some real winners out there, and, you know, I anticipate some very tight contests. I anticipate more than a few upsets, just because I think, you know, a lot of people are going to be looking at the seedings that we have and saying, you know, I don't know that I agree with that, but, you know, one man's buffoon is another man's hero, but I think we've been pretty good this year. I think we've got, you know, some contests people are going to be really excited about. And like you said, you know, the great thing about politics in America is there's never any shortage of people doing something extraordinarily stupid.
And keep in mind, folks, when we talk about extraordinarily stupid, we are nonpartisan here as well. We are calling out Republicans, Democrats, progressives, conservatives.
Oh yeah,
There's
we got some hardcore conservatives in there. We got some ultra liberals in there, and everything in between. You know, there's really no partisanry in this one. We're calling out both sides when they're being buffoons, and I don't think anyone can accuse us of having our thumbs on the scale when it comes to one side or the other.
Oh, absolutely not, and I totally agree with that. The one thing you won't find here, folks, even though they were nominated, are the names that would just win depending upon whether you are on the left or on the right. And we're talking about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Special rule with them, we did not let them in because we want this to be competitive and not a partisan hit job on one side or the other. We are really interested in buffoonery.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's very hard. I understand that. You're going to see a lot of people in here where if you're on the right, you're like, but oh my goodness, that person does so much good. Or if you're on the left, you're like, I really agree with that person. I really, really agree with that person. We wanted to keep those big names out because there's no way to have a question about the buffoonish things they do without it turning a referendum on their politics. And, you know, that's just no fun. You know, this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be a fun moment for America.
He said fun 4 times, ladies and gentlemen. He must be serious about his fun. By the way, we just lost every never Trumper who ever listened to the show. But whatever, it's okay by me. You ready to get down to this bracket? Are you ready to, like, unveil this cornucopia, as it were, of buffoonery?
Well, this never Trumper is still here, and we're ready to get this show on the road.
All right, folks. Gotta say at the onset, before we unveil the bracket, we had over 40 nominees from our conclave that we call amongst our friends, families, and relatives, and everyone associated with the show over the past couple of years. The biggest crop of buffoons in the history of the show, and these are your top 16. Matt, which bracket do you want to start with? Since you are our guest of honor today, You're our resident expert. Who we got? What? Give me a number that you want to start with.
You know what? I think let's start right at the top, and then we can play around from there. But we can start at the top so we can let people know, what the parameters look like and why we are where we are.
All right. So you're talking about the number 1 seed in the Buffoon of the Year for 2018. For me and for many in our conclave, it was a no-brainer. It had to be the creepy porn lawyer, Michael Avenatti. He's our number 1. But I have to say, Matt Fairley disagreed with this selection. Tell them why.
Well, perhaps it's because everyone should know I'm a lawyer just like Michael Avenatti. I'm a better lawyer, but...
I mean, that's not saying much, but yes, he is a better lawyer. I can vouch for that.
I think part of the problem is that, I'm biased in that I look at so much of what Michael Avenatti does as a lawyer, what he was doing on behalf of his client, all the puffery, as we say in the business, and I look at it more as just unethical and not buffoonery. It makes me kind of sad and upset as an attorney at law that this is a man that I share a career with. And I don't look at that as buffoonery. I look at that as just like plain just wrong. So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing just like wrongness. And buffoonery isn't about just like being a criminal. Otherwise, we could just look up who's got convicted for the most things and that'd be the Buffoon of the Year. It's about really being spectacularly bad. So that's where I am. And I think maybe it's a professional bias of mine. But, hey, we all have our biases and I can admit mine up front.
Well, spectacularly bad definitely describes Michael Avenatti to me. Yes, he's a fellow member of the bar, but at the same time, you use the phrase spectacularly bad. This is a guy who just, politically speaking, forget about legal tactics, legal strategy, and all that other stuff. Politically, he was just spectacularly bad, Matt. I mean, from going after Donald Trump and trying to take him down on his own turf, which is basically the mud, to going on TV fighting with Tucker Carlson, to, forget about, put aside the fact that he lost for his client, who now has to pay Donald Trump's legal fees. But the fact that the guy started his own PAC, raised money for Beto O'Rourke, and then took half that money for his own. First of all, very Italian of him, but at the same time, just a buffoon, because sooner or later he got dropped like a bad habit with the whole Julie Swetnick thing during the Kavanaugh circus. And by the way, folks, you're going to see tons of players from that as well. And to me, he just earned that. Not to mention his dumb decision of wanting to run for president, and there's also this whole domestic violence rap going on. The man checked all the boxes in 1 year. Yeah.
And this is, I think, where you and I disagree. I don't know if we differ, but this is another where I look at it like the domestic violence thing. That's not buffoonery. That's just being evil.
True. True.
Like if you want to think he's a buffoon, fine. Don't use that as your measuring stick. That's just evil. I mean, yes. I mean, well, just because you're Stormy Daniels' lawyer, you say, "Oh, I'm going to run for president." Oh, come on, man, get over your damn self.
Absolutely. And he's going up against the number 16 seed, and I feel the emails, cards, and letters coming in as we speak, especially from our listeners down in Florida and Georgia down there. Because we're talking about a Southern conservative Republican, Judge Roy Moore. Matt, why did he make the cut?
Well, I mean, he has been in the news for a while, but, we have deadlines here like any good media relationship, so a lot of the stuff that happens late in the last year, doesn't get in. But he lost a Senate seat as a Republican in Alabama. Do you know what you have to do to lose a Senate seat as a Republican in Alabama? Well, if you paid attention to the news, you know exactly what he did. The buffoonery here isn't, again, like we said about Avenatti.
It's not the allegations.
It's not, it's not the fact that he was creeping on young girls. That's just gross.
No, it was the yearbook signature.
It's the explanations he gave.
Yes.
It's the explanations he gave. It's like, well, the Bible said it's okay. I went to church too, man. I don't remember anyone saying that, it's okay for older men to go creep on younger girls. That's just wrong. And if you're going to come up and use the Bible as your excuse for why you're creeping on 14-year-old girls when you're 30-something, you're a buffoon.
Absolutely right. And to be honest with you, the reason why I think he makes the cut here, and again, I feel the cards and letters coming in, is what you said at the beginning. You're a Republican in Alabama in an open seat, and you totally screw it up. You absolutely totally screw it up.
He lost to an unknown, too. I mean, no one... I can't even... To tell you how unknown the senator he lost to...
I still don't know his name.
I'm totally blanking on his name.
There you go.
I'm blanking on his name. He's a nobody.
Well, and it's not like the Republicans are not going to win this seat back. It's just that he was such a horrible candidate. And by the way, he was also the schism between Steve Bannon and President Trump. And they competed with each other over this. And Trump actually didn't back this guy. He begrudgingly did it later on. But, this wasn't his first pick. So... Yeah,
when even Donald Trump is willing to look at you and say, you know what, you've gone too far. And Donald Trump, he's the president. He gets my respect, because respect the office. If you don't respect the man, he gets my respect. He will go out there for a lot of Republicans. There's very few Republicans Donald Trump won't go out there for. And he looked at him and said, yeah, no thanks.
Absolutely. Matt, this is a good time to explain to people what we mean by buffoonery. And we're trying to make it as clear as we can with this first bracket. It doesn't mean, evil criminality, although it can mean that. It can mean corruption, but it's broader than that, right?
It is broader than that. It's when I think, and we're going to see this later on. And I see a couple in here that we're going to get to. Or something. A lot of it comes down to hubris, to pride. I look at buffoonery as to go way, way back, but like the Jimmy Baker, Jimmy Swaggart kind of thing. Being the person who preaches family values but then cheats on your wife. Being the person that, preaches socialism and preaches, all democratic liberal politics, but, you own two houses and you dress in $1,000 suits. It's hypocrisy. It's hubris. That's what is at the essence of buffoonery. That is what really takes someone from being just stupid or just being just a criminal and becoming a world-class buffoon. Delving deeper than what Matt Fairley has done, and he's the forerunner in this work. By the way, check out his article on the Sharpton scale that's on the menu of www.behindthealinesradio.us. Matt, I've been meaning to tell you this. I've identified, at least on a sliding scale, 11 different types of buffoon, which I'll get into you later on with. But it goes from, the super silly to the criminal corrupt and all points in between. The lack of self-awareness buffoon, the bless your heart buffoon, the Hank Johnson thinking that Guam's going to tip over, to the guy in New York who tried to pay off his lawyer on his corruption trial with more corruption money. And yes, that did happen. His name is William Boylan. We mention him every year. But that's sort of the range of buffoonery that we can have in this bracket and also in life. Yeah, it really kind of boils down to, you say there are 11 categories, but there's really just two main families. It's the, oh my God, what were you thinking category of buffoon. And just like you said, it's like, bless his heart kind of buffoon. The really kind of you've done something really, really dumb and you did it, you set out, you intentionally set out along a path, and what were you thinking? And then there's the other one where it's you tried. You tried, but you just messed up.
Absolutely right. And by the way, this is all an emerging science, in my opinion. And like I said, Matt Fairley is the forerunner of it, because there are now 2 established metrics for measuring buffoonery. Very quickly, Matt, we got a minute before our hard break here. Tell everybody about the Sharpton scales.
Well, there are two different types of Sharpton scales. There's the Sharpton scale that measures the individual, and that is someone's inherent buffoonery. Everyone has a little bit of buffoonery in them, but some people take it really, really, really hard scale. With the Reverend Al Sharpton being the number one, A1, 100%. Wow, you're a buffoon. Down to and I use this, and bless his heart, and we miss and respect him. George H.W. Bush, who just made the occasional gaffe where it's oh, bless your heart, you're a good man, but bless your heart. And R.I.P. President Bush. But the other kind is buffoonish acts, because even if you have only a little bit of buffoonery in you, you could do a buffoonish act that's wow,